Rain hammered against the windshield like 1,000 pebbles, and the sky flashed in frantic pulses of white. Daniel Hayes tightened his grip on the steering wheel, staring through the storm as chunks of hail bounced violently off the hood of his SUV. He had seen Colorado hailstorms before, but nothing like this, giant, jagged ice stones falling with the force of thrown rocks. He was on his way back from a late meeting, the usual kind he'd grown used to ever since becoming the CEO of Helix Innovations, a medical tech company that demanded almost all of his attention. But being a single dad demanded the rest, and tonight his mind was already racing with the thought of picking up his 8-year-old son, Liam, from his sister's house. He hated being late. He hated that work always found a way to stretch its fingers into the spaces where family should have been. As he turned onto Birchwood Lane, visibility dropped to nearly zero. Hail crashed like gunshots. Lightning cracked open the sky, briefly illuminating a small figure on the side of the road, something pink, something tiny, something unmoving. Daniel's heart slammed against his ribs. A child. He hit the brakes so hard the SUV skidded sideways before coming to a jerking stop. Without thinking, he threw open his door and was immediately blasted by wind and needles of ice. The cold bit instantly into his skin, but adrenaline pushed him forward. "Hey," he shouted over the storm. "Hey, are you okay?" The small figure didn't answer. As he approached, the shape took form. A little girl curled around herself, arms wrapped over her head, her backpack shielding as much of her as it could. Hailstones struck her shoulders, bouncing off her tiny frame. Her hair was soaked, her shoes were muddy, and her whole body trembled. She couldn't have been more than 6. Daniel dropped to his knees beside her. "Sweetheart, I'm here. It's okay. You're okay." The girl lifted her head just enough for him to see her face, wet, frightened, and blotched red from the cold. "It hurts," she whimpered, her voice small and cracking. "I know," he said softly. "I'm going to get you out of here." He scooped her up, shielding her with his own body as they dashed back to the SUV. The hail pounded his back like swinging fists, but he held her tight, feeling her tiny fingers clutch desperately at his shirt. Inside the car, Daniel quickly shut the door and turned the heater on full blast. The girl curled into the seat, shivering hard. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "I'm Mia," she sniffed. "Okay, Mia, I'm Daniel. You're safe now." He grabbed the emergency blanket from the glove compartment and wrapped it around her small shoulders. Her teeth chattered as she tried to tuck her knees under it. "Where were you going out there?" he asked, trying to keep her talking, to keep her awake. "I was walking home from school," she whispered. I didn't know the hail was coming." "Where are your parents?" "My mom." The girl's voice faltered. "She's at work. She always works late." Daniel felt a familiar ache twist in his chest. "Where does she work?" "Golden Crest Tower," she murmured. His eyes widened slightly. That was downtown, miles from here. No mother would ever let her daughter walk that far alone. Something wasn't right. "Do you have anyone at home with you?" he asked. She shook her head slowly. "Just me." A knot tightened in his stomach. "Okay, let's call your mom." Mia shook her head again, eyes filling with tears. "She doesn't answer when she's working. She can't. She says her boss gets mad." Daniel clenched his jaw, but kept his voice calm. "I'm sure she'll answer this time." He dialed the number Mia gave him. It rang, and rang, and rang. No answer. He tried again. Nothing. He looked back at Mia, whose eyes were growing heavier now that the warmth was seeping back into her body. "Hey," he said softly, tapping her shoulder. "Stay awake for me, okay?" She nodded faintly. "You talk like someone my mom used to tell me about." Daniel blinked. "What do you mean?" Mia's eyes fluttered but she fought them open. She said, "There's a man she worked with years ago. She said he was brave. And kind. And he always helped people even when nobody asked him to." Something quickened in Daniel's blood. She said, "If I ever get in trouble, someone like him would find me." He swallowed. "What was his name?" Mia shook her head. "She never said. But she said he saved her once. And that's why she believes people like him still exist." A strange feeling washed over Daniel, familiarity, puzzlement, and a shadow of something forgotten. He decided not to push her. Instead, he drove toward the nearest urgent care clinic, carefully maneuvering through the storm. Mia slept lightly, curled under the blanket. At the clinic, doctors confirmed she had mild hypothermia and several bruises from the hail but would recover fully. Daniel stayed with her the entire time, calling her mother every 10 minutes. Still no answer. Hours later, after the storm had passed and the clock crept past midnight, the clinic doors burst open. A woman rushed inside, soaked hair sticking to her face, her jacket slipping off one shoulder as she frantically scanned the waiting room. "Mia," she cried. Mia, now sipping warm juice, perked up. "Mom." The woman rushed to her daughter, hugging her so tightly Daniel saw her knuckles whiten. "I'm so sorry, baby, I'm so sorry," she whispered over and over. When she finally looked up, her eyes landed on Daniel. They froze. Not in confusion, not in surprise, in recognition. She knew him, and in the next breath, Daniel knew her too. "Emily," he said. Her lips parted, trembling. "Daniel, I can't believe it's you." Memories flashed. Years ago, when he was younger, when he wasn't a CEO, when he was working night shifts at the city shelter as a volunteer. A woman had come in, scared, bruised, desperate to escape a toxic relationship. He had helped her, fought for her, protected her when no one else would. Emily. Now she stood in front of him again, older, worn, but with the same soft eyes that used to hold quiet gratitude. She blinked back tears. "You saved her. You saved my daughter." Daniel shook his head. "I just did what anyone would have done." "No." Emily's voice was firm. "Most people drove past. I know people. I know how the world works. You stopped. You always stop." Mia peeked up at him from her mother's arms. "I told you, Mommy. Someone like him would find me." Emily looked at her daughter, then at Daniel again. Her face softened with a mixture of awe and relief. "I owe you everything," she whispered. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out an envelope. She pushed it toward him with trembling hands. "I know it's nothing compared to what you did. But I need you to take it." Daniel frowned. "Emily, I didn't do this for money." "It's not money," she said softly. "Just open it when you're home." Before he could argue, Mia tugged her mother's sleeve. "Mommy, he's the man from your story, isn't he?" Emily swallowed hard. "Yes, he is." Daniel felt something shift inside him. Something old waking up. Something he thought he'd buried under years of corporate meetings and sleepless nights. He walked them to the car, made sure they were safe, and only then drove home. His house felt quiet. Too quiet. Liam was asleep in his room, peaceful and unaware. Daniel sat at the kitchen table and opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper. A business card. And a letter. He unfolded the letter and recognized her handwriting instantly. "Daniel, you once told me that the world needed more people willing to do the right thing even when no one was watching. I never forgot that. I built my life around that. You helped me believe in myself again when I had nothing. I've spent years trying to give my daughter a life without fear. A life with hope. Today, because of you, she still has that life. I don't know if fate is real, but I'm glad it brought you back. Emily." Daniel exhaled, sinking back in his chair. For the first time in years, something warm and unfamiliar flickered in his chest. Hope, and maybe something else, something he wasn't ready to name. But he knew one thing for sure. This was not the end of their story. This was only the beginning.